Hi, Misha here, and it's been a little bit since I've done a Star Trek Eaglemoss video. The last few have been other franchises. And in this one, I wanted to talk about the Voyager, or rather the evolution of the model, the Intrepid class. This is one I've had for, a while now, a few months. This is the Rick Sternbach prototype concept, whatever you want to call it, mock-up, kind of a preliminary design that nearly became the Voyager. And this is one that Eaglemoss just released. This is kind of an earlier, I don't think it was ever really considered to be the actual Voyager, but more of a study model, or maybe just the designers having fun after a few drinks. But this is a special from Eaglemoss, the U.S.S. Altair, and this is another special. So these aren't regular issues because technically neither one is, strictly speaking, canon. Although, as I said, a model was made of this, a basic model, and this has appeared in some calendars, and I think it's in Star Trek Online and some other things. So the design seems to be kind of popular. And to be fair, 3 different times it was tried in Star Trek universe to be a ship. So, yeah. But of course, this is the Voyager we ended up with. It's a relatively small ship. The crew is kind of ambiguous, depending on Voyager, but around 140, about 300 meters long. 15 decks. So, even though the U.S.S. Altair is kind of an earlier design, I really want to first talk about the Sternbach concept here, since it's an earlier model. Work began on designing the Intrepid, the Voyager, while Star Trek The Next Generation was finishing up its last season in 1993, and while Deep Space Nine was getting into its second season. Some designs were tossed around that summer and fall, and really by March of 94, some kind of hardcore concepts were being proven out. The powers that be knew that they wanted a small ship, smaller than the Enterprise D. They wanted it to appear sleek and fast. And they wanted some articulation, something kind of moving, some whiz-bang gadget going on. Trying to make it as different from the Enterprise as possible. The initial quota was for about 300 meters long, and a crew of approximately 200. Basically, they wanted it different, but also recognizable as a Starfleet ship. And this concept was more or less tacitly approved. It was not the first, but it was kind of a culmination of what came before, what they liked. I always thought the long, kind of slender nacelles were very Excelsior-like, and from what I've read, I'm not wrong. That's kind of their inspiration. They do hang down instead of up. Try my best here, guys. So kind of Akira runabout style there. The star drive, the engineering hull, is very long. Again, a little bit reminiscent of the Excelsior class. The saucer, as it were, at least metaphorically speaking, is more of a arrowhead shape, very, very angular. But you can see how that would evolve into the standard Voyager. Also the cutout in the front for a sensor, or as it became an auxiliary navigational deflector. I always thought it was interesting how far back the bridge was on this one. Back here. The deflector is actually pretty similar to what was originally, or what was finally seen on Voyager, but it does have a, kind of a Enterprise D look going on as well. It's a neat model. It's very long, very tapery, very sharp and angular. It also looks like it's very fast, at least in a straight line. Looks like it might have a hell of a time turning, but going in one direction, I think it would do okay. If I can actually get it on the stand one-handed. I don't think I'll try. Seems dangerous. We'll just leave it here. This blanket's soft. But yeah, in nearly the 11th hour, let's say the 10th hour, they decided to go more curvy, organic, and we ended up with the Intrepid we know. They also added the ability to land on planets as a kind of a gimmick, and of course they went to the moving nacelles. And speaking of organic, that's kind of where the Altair type here comes from. Of course, originally it wasn't known as the Altair type. Set that down. Just in case I hit it. This was kind of intentionally based on sea life shapes. You see early on they had the idea they wanted kind of a arrow-shaped hull. It has long nacelles. They're on upswept pylons. All of that I actually kind of like. But this engineering hull, I'm not sure about it. It's very odd. And more importantly, I don't really see what the function of going way back here would really do. Again, this was more of an experiment in trying to make a different looking starship. They really didn't get much past the drawing stage. This actually came from Michael Okuda. At least he was one of the guys kind of dreaming this up. So it very quickly wasn't used for Voyager. But, look at it. Now look at the Saber type, the Saber class from Star Trek First Contact. Shorten this and fatten it up in the back. Also shorten and kind of compact in to the hull these nacelles. And you see it, I think. It kind of looks like a larger Saber or something to do with that. So if nothing else, it kind of fits into the Star Trek lineage thanks to the Saber. Now, since this design wasn't really used for Voyager, they again pitched it around 1999-2000 for the NX-01 Archer ship, the first Warp 5. And I actually think this would make a pretty good Warp 5 ship, because we have kind of the plane type front with the engines hanging off the back. And in a way we kind of got that. The so-called Warp Delta, if you look at it from Enterprise, which Eaglemoss, yes, definitely has a model of, and I have done videos on, but others have done better, but yeah, I have tried. Looks, so, the shape is kind of there, and the kind of upswept nacelles, and I mean, if you, cut this back piece off and kind of make it clunkier and less sleek, I don't know, reminds me. Also the Moon Shuttle, which is derived from that Warp Delta. So it does remind me. I think this did kind of appear in a highly modified form. Even the bridge seems to be in the same location in Enterprise, but it was never the main one. They again tried to use this concept in Enterprise when they were doing the 1701J in the future battle with the sphere builders. And while they really didn't survive, if you look at the Enterprise J, it has very similar nacelles. Very long, very thin. So that kind of got carried over. So it's kind of been picked to pieces a little bit. It's one of those designs I think was kind of a favorite around the office, and if nothing else because of how weird it was. Well, it was finally fleshed out 2006-2007 in the Ships of the Line calendar when it was called the U.S.S. Altair, and that's really what this is a model of here. It's said to be about 324 meters long, but only about 38 meters thick. So that does not allow for a lot of decks. It's also said to be in service by 2371 and still in service at the end of the century. It was said to be an experimental design and to be, quote, maneuverable and warp, whatever that means. But at the same time, it was said to have some issues, which, considering the radical design, is understandable. And again, I do believe it has appeared in Star Trek Online, at least in a modified form. So yeah, the U.S.S. Altair, derived from a very early Voyager concept and rejected twice during Enterprise, finally kind of made a home. It just seems like one of those underdog fan favorites that just won't quite go away. But yeah, this just came out in August of 2019 from Eaglemoss, so I thought it was a time we'd look at it, and also look at the early prototype here, which I think is a really cool ship. I mean, this is definitely more of a Star Trek ship look. I mean, this would fit right in. But the Federation's allowed to have experimental designs, so I think they both are neat. And I know a lot of people kind of think it's funny that Eaglemoss does models like these, and they should just stick to the main hero models like Voyager. Of course, they have to do Voyager, the Enterprise, the Defiant. But you know what? Everyone who does Star Trek models does those. What I like about this collection is that they actually do the weird ones. Because in the future, this is the kind of stuff that becomes collectible and interesting. Because how many models of these are out there? Not many. So for that alone, plus, these are things I have no clue what they look like unless I had a model, so I'm happy to have them just for my own edification. Anywho, if you have any questions or comments, please do post them below. And if you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.